The head of the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces has announced the group's dissolution. It is part of a deal struck with the government. Mazloum Abdi said that the SDF would cease to operate as an independent force. The group lost most of its territory in northeastern Syria during a government offensive in January. It then signed a deal to integrate into the military. Abdi has pledged to ensure the rights of Kurds will be upheld.
We will carry with us the memory of our martyrs, and we will keep their sacrifice in our hearts, because they didn't fight for a war, but for the day when Syrians do not have to fight each other. We want this day to be the start of a real transition from the battlefield into the fields of construction, from the time of arm-bearing to the time of peace.
Al Jazeera's Heidi Pett joins us now from Damascus. Heidi, in just a moment, you'll be giving us all the detail that you've been able to gather about how this deal is really structured. Before we get into that, explain to our viewers what's at stake here, why it could end up being so consequential that the SDF are integrating the Syrian National Army.
So this integration is part of the ongoing implementation of a deal that was actually agreed back in January of this year, and that is after the SDF lost a military confrontation with the government here in Damascus. President Ahmed al-Shara has made it a priority since he took power back in December of 2024 to reunify Syrian territory, to bring it all back under the control of the state. And with the implementation of that deal, that job is nearly done, with the exception of the province of Sweda in southern Syria.
Now, if we look at the details and how the deal is structured, among the things that are important and that could determine whether this holds or not is, and you'll tell us which of these questions you can answer, is where will the Kurdish fighters be deployed? What will the chain of command be like? Will they be led by Kurdish commanders or non-Kurdish commanders? And also, what about the women fighters, which we know was an important issue? They have an important female fighting force in the SDF.
So in terms of how this integration will happen, and actually has been happening, this process has been ongoing for about 7 months now since that deal was signed in January. And so originally the SDF and its leaders wanted their units to be integrated wholesale into the Ministry of Defence. So they wanted to maintain the same people in the same units under the same commanders. Now Damascus pushed back against that and said that they could be integrated and crucially vetted individually, and that then these new command structures would fall under existing divisions within the Syrian army. So there are 3 Kurdish divisions as well as a brigade in Kobani as well, and many of those fighters, about 10,000 of them, have already been signed up for training at facilities near Damascus, and they're heading back to these units to be integrated into the army. But there are some questions still about actual chain of command, who's really in control on the ground, especially on the overnight shifts. And there's other questions as well, not just about the military institutions, so the SDF, but also the civilian institutions. And so in the formerly SDF-held areas, there's also something called the Asayish, which is basically the police force. And they are the ones that do a lot of the on-the-ground policing. They're the ones manning checkpoints. They're the ones running patrols on the ground. And what we understand is that despite the progress that has been made, they are still the ones that are effectively in control. Even though Damascus has deployed some forces up there, they're not going out on their own. They're either accompanied by the Asayish, or the Asayish are the ones who are really running operations. They're still wearing their old uniforms. Civilian employees of the autonomous administration are still being paid by them. And so even though the now former commander of the SDF, Mazloum Abdi, announced its dissolution last night, he also announced the end of the autonomous administration at civilian institutions. There is still a lot of detail to be worked out on the ground about how that handover is going to work, if everybody's going to be happy with it, if there's going to be any kind of pushback from Kurdish society up there. And that's part of why we had this really positive tone struck by Mazloum Abdi in that speech, reassuring them, saying things are going well, this is the start of a new chapter in Syria, and also reassuring them that Kurdish language and cultural rights are going to be respected.
Al Jazeera's Heidi Pett reporting from the Syrian capital, Damascus. Thank you very much, Heidi.